Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Honk honk, everyone. Guys, you're catching me on a good day. That's right, I'm a happy goose. So this is part 2 of my sit down with John Witherspoon. That's right, we're talking all things Harry and Meghan and all the nonsense they've been up to, including that interview with BBC and just kind of our thoughts and opinions on what's going on with them and the public opinion of them and observations of them. So I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. As always, we appreciate John so much. What really helps is leaving him nice comments. I'll be sure that he can see those and I'll pass them along to him because he doesn't have a channel. So leave the nice comments here and also give him a follow on Instagram. He's Witherspoon DC over on Instagram if you want to give him the follow. And as soon as he gets a channel, he promises to let us know. But again, thank you so much for being here. Now, here is part 2 of my sit down with John Witherspoon. If you didn't see part 1, that went up yesterday. So go check that out. And here we go.
The other thing is too, and I know we had maybe I'll jump ahead a little bit, but okay. I'm reminded of what's the quote about idle hands are the devil's workshop, something along those lines. And I look at Harry and I think if that guy had more things to occupy his thoughts on a daily basis, he would not maybe be quite so obsessed about all of these things, all these grievances that he seems to collect on a perpetual basis. He might be a little bit more occupied with doing something good. I mean, I don't know what the guy does all day long except sit around and, and
then pictures of Prince William. I don't know.
Well, right. And then as so many people have said, if we could all be a fly on the wall, people's inclination is to think, well, what's Meghan doing to amp him up and to convince him that his relatives is, it's very interesting. It's kind of hard to ignore the fact that she entered the British royal family having estranged all but one of her relatives. And now here we are, whatever it is, 5 years later. And how many of his relatives is he still close to?
Yeah.
Who? Eugenie? Maybe? Maybe?
Yeah. Maybe. I would think at this point, even she would be like, what?
No, well, you just gotta wonder.
Yeah.
What do they talk about when they talk about his family? And I've had the experience, either friends or women that I've dated or whoever it is, have talked me off the ledge, or people even have. I mean, I remember going into. I've been in meetings and I have walked out of the meeting thinking I just got really sandbagged or sabotaged or I got jumped in that meeting, and I've commented that to other people who've been in the meeting. In some cases, not even people that I, am very close to, and they've said to me, no, you weren't. Nobody sandbagged you. You should have seen that coming a mile away. Perfectly reasonable to have raised that point just because you didn't feel good about it and just because it undermined the comments that you had just made. That doesn't mean somebody plotted and conspired to sandbag you and cut you off and kneecap you or whatever the analogy is that you want to use. Sure. And I don't think he has anybody in his ecosystem or his orbit who is saying those types of things to him. Right. And I've been grateful. I have been grateful when people have said that. In the moment, it might have stung a little bit because I remember it stinging. But then after 15 minutes, you think to yourself, you know what? That person was right. They really were right. He was onto something. I was off base. And we all do that. I guarantee, Jen, you've done that, I'm sure, where you feel like, hey, somebody's out to get me. That person really did me rotten. Yeah. And then somebody else comes along I'm grateful for when my dad has done that to me. It's like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Grow the hell up. And not that my dad would put it in those terms, but basically get over yourself.
Yeah.
You're in a whirlpool of self-delusion, and you got to break out of that. That's and it. Look at this from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And invariably those types of people are very important in your life, and I question whether Harry has any of them.
You're absolutely right. And I'm laughing. I won't even go into it. But recently I had a very small version of what you're talking about, pointing the wrong way, what you're talking about. And it was really bugging me, just something to do with the channel. And I actually talked to you about it, and you're very helpful and basically said you're too focused on it. Like, or I'm focused on the wrong thing.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Let's make it. So my point, like, let's make an action plan and work on this. And so you help me see, you're right. Sitting here fretting about it is doing nothing. It's counterproductive. Let me just take actions. So two things happened. You helped me see that I had my head up somewhere else I shouldn't have been. And also I can take steps to fix this. I can work on this. This will just be something I work on. And that's exactly. So Harry will never, even if he had the best person in his ear trying to say that to him, I just don't know if he's capable. You can decide how to take that. I just don't know. I don't know that he could learn from it.
Yeah. Well, and let me just give another example in the case that I was just talking about, where I felt like it had been sandbagged. If I had said that to somebody and they thought I had been sandbagged or ambushed or whatever it was,
right?
I think their answer would have been something along the lines of, yeah, that did happen. You did just, get ambushed in that meeting. But at the same time, what are you going to do about it?
That's right.
Who cares? Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things?
That's it.
And even if it does, what are you going to do about it? How long are you going to marinate and let this live rent free in your head, as everybody always says? Mm-hmm. And again, there's an instance where, Harry might have some valid argument about his protection and Ravik and everything else, but it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. It's kind of a can't fight City Hall type of a scenario,
right?
And at some point, it's like trying to fight the post office.
Yeah,
good
analogy. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what the post office is like in other places, but in the United States, it does not have the most stellar reputation. Let me tell you. But the point being, you can argue with I told a neighbor this one time. They're so upset about something was wrong with the way their garbage was picked up. And I said, well, what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. These are the guys that pick the garbage up, the bin guys. Mm-hmm. Are you going to make phone calls and write letters? And okay, they didn't take a bag of your stuff. All right, put it back in the bin, take it into the garage, and let it sit there for a week until they come around next time.
Right.
It just,
the difference.
So we all deal with those. I mean, getting on an airplane, again, assault on your human rights happens every single time you get on an airplane these days. And at the same time, what are you going to do? Are you going to argue with security at the airport? Oh, they gave me a dirty look. Oh, they yelled at me. Oh, they told me to take my shoes off when I didn't need to.
Right.
Again, just
do it just to get on the airplane. Yeah.
Yes. And spare us all the drama about it. No one. Great. You flew on an airplane. And like I said, your human rights were deprived for a few minutes.
So he, instead of like the rest of us where you say, well, that kind of sucks. I hate taking my shoes off, whatever it is. And you just get past it. He's like, I'm personally offended. I'm going after the airline and I'm going after the security worker and I'm going after, it's like, just
well, and a perfect example of that was the email correspondence between his security people and the NYPD. The Duke feels that he has been misled, and the Duke is going to contact the governor of California. Oh, Gavin Newsom. you know, honestly.
Yeah.
And as I said a long time ago, I can imagine they were probably laughing hysterically in whatever office. It would have been one of those, hey, come here, you got to read, here, look at my screen, read this email. You won't believe it. Hey, everybody, come. I guarantee you that's what happened somewhere in New York City in a police department office.
Absolutely.
You got to see this. You won't believe it. Look what he's done now.
Yeah. Right. Do you remember when he got out of the secure vehicle to get in a yellow cab with clear glass?
Right.
I know you remember. I'm just saying, like, that's what these guys are probably saying. Like, he took himself out of the secure vehicle and now he's complaining that we did something. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Woe is him. Any other thoughts on the BBC of it all that you wanted to hit? Oh, there was one I can think of, and that's why I started laughing a little bit ago, because I thought you were going here with this. But you compared the interview to a certain movie. Do you remember which movie you compared it to?
Spinal Tap. Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Well, if you haven't seen Spinal Tap, it's
like a mockumentary, right?
Exactly. It's a mockumentary about a fictitious rock band. They have all kinds of problems, no matter what they do, no matter where they go. Everything turns into a catastrophe. And sprinkled throughout this movie are these interviews, one of which is, for instance, a famous conversation between Rob Reiner, who's played by he's playing a character named Marty DeBurgi, I think, and he's talking to, I believe it's Christopher Guest, who's playing this rock musician. And Christopher Guest is explaining, they have an amplifier with knobs on the front. And Rob Reiner's character says, I'm looking at these knobs, and, on most pieces of audio equipment like this, they would go up to 10, but these all go to 11. What is the significance of that? And Christopher Guest's character goes, well, it's one louder, isn't it? And it becomes this running joke, and they never do sort of, reconcile that. And that's just one of it. That's just one example. And and there interviews like that back and forth all throughout the entire movie. But I watched this Harry interview on the BBC, and again, he just was like, it could have been something out of a comedy. It was so bizarre. So bizarre.
Yeah, it was very petulant.
Well, I was going to mention also, and for people who really want to maybe dive a little deeper into this, he's a psychiatrist in the UK, in London. He has appeared as a guest on a number of people's channels. His name is Dr. Raj Persoe.
Okay.
Persaud, first name Raj, R-A-J. And he has done a really interesting, in-depth analysis of Harry's BBC interview. And if you want to look at it, it won't be hard to find. But he talks about the 4 stages of coping with loss. And this is not something that he has dreamt up in his wisdom and brilliance and everything. This is fairly well known, I think, within psychological or psychiatric circles. But he talks about the first stage of coping with loss, as in the loss of this court case. The very first thing on the list is accepting reality. And then he talks about peeling off or shedding the layers of emotional reaction, or getting through the emotional reaction. And then he talks about getting on with other things, finding other things to do and to occupy your attention. And he uses an example about somebody who goes through a breakup with a romantic partner, and they don't like being dumped, and they can't get over the person who dumped them. And I thought that was very interesting in Harry's case. And then he also talks about finding another purpose. In other words, redirecting your energy and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that he and some other people have said, normally you would try to go through these steps in numerical order, but in a lot of ways, Harry has gone through the second, third, and fourth stages, but he has yet to internalize the first stage, which is accepting the reality of what's happened. And as we talked about a minute ago, he has now apparently said, oh, I'm going to write to the head of the Home Office. I forget the woman's name, but I'm going to go back there and see if I can get some relief from her.
Yvonne or something, Yvette?
Yes, and it's like, get it through your head.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If for no other reason than she doesn't want to look stupid. You might have the most brilliant argument in the world, but because of who you've made yourself into, you're such a laughingstock now, especially as pertains to this case. She's not going to want to give you any grace and try and help you out. You're a very unsympathetic character. And if she did help you out, it would make her look lousy, and she's not going to do that.
Yeah,
so
we might take that on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, look, this, again, you were dumped. This person does not want to be with you. Move along. Yeah. This battle cannot be won.
That's right.
Writing all the, I'll do whatever. I'll change. It's like, no, she doesn't want to go out with you anymore. We've all been there, but we've all been there in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we learned this lesson at some point.
Yeah.
Deal with it, internalize it, acknowledge it, vent your anger.
Uh-huh.
Go out for a drive in your car after you've just gotten dumped. Go for a long walk. Mm-hmm. Do whatever. And he does not understand that.
Right.
He really doesn't. Harry does not understand that. And I hate to use the word tragic again, but it is tragic because the longer he marinates and obsesses on this particular cause, as he has publicly admitted that he does on these causes that he thinks are important. I'm going to fix the British royal family, and this was, and I'm going to fix the British media, and I'm going to teach everybody a lesson.
I think, yeah.
Right. And this is my calling in the world, is to set all these institutions straight.
Yeah.
And I'm uniquely situated.
He's a dragon slayer. That's right.
Yes.
No.
It's really amazing to watch. And that's why people watch all the Megxit YouTubers.
You're right.
Taz and Royal Grift and Lost Beyond Pluto and everybody else and Steph and
this channel, whatever.
Oh, do people watch your channel? Oh, I didn't.
They're now watching because I have you on occasionally. Not for
yes.
me.
Thank you very much. I'm the lifeboat.
That's right.
For your channel.
That's right. Lifeboat liability, is that yeah.
Lifeboat, tugboat, pick your analogy.
That's right. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's see. Oh, you had come up with a really good idea, and I'd like to ask you flockers to play along with this. And that is, describe Harry's personality. So take a minute, put in the comments, just put some descriptive words of what you think of when you think of Harry's personality.
Or better yet, even just one word.
Okay, there you go. One word. So
just one word.
I should have come prepared with this. My wheels are turning. Do you have a word in mind? I didn't think in advance, did you?
Well, I won't use the word tragic again because I've used that so much. But if I just had to pick a word, if I had to only pick one word that I think is of greatest import when describing Harry, I would use arrogant.
Okay. I thought prick, which could kind of go.
Yeah, that's a little bit less of a.
Don't make that face. It applies. He's a prick. He talked about his family's private matters, and he's just on and on while saying that they don't respect his privacy and things. So he's a prick. Okay, fine. Hypocritical. Hypocrite. How about that?
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
My prick thing.
Well, I just think that there are As I've said before, and as we've talked about, Jen, I think at some point down the road, there's going to be a big time movie, again, on par with something like The King's Speech.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be about the self-destruction of Harry.
Yeah.
And I hope that the ending of that movie is that he fades off into obscurity and kind of becomes a Prince Andrew type of character. Mm-hmm. My fear is, and again, I can't take full credit for this, but I hear it from so many people. My fear is that it is going to end badly in some way, as I mentioned once before, some way that involves public safety personnel showing up wherever he has been, in a hotel room in New York or at Montecito or whatever it is, and something bad will have happened. And everyone will say, wow, we're really sorry that happened. But we can't say it's a giant surprise. Mm-hmm. And and that BBC interview really drove that home. Mm-hmm. He looks a lot like somebody who has, and again, this is just allegedly, my opinion, armchair speculation, everything. I'm no expert on any of this stuff. But I know some people who have gone through various very serious nervous breakdowns, for lack of a better term. And I mean, the path that he is on is very similar to the path that the other people that I'm familiar with were on before they really hit rock bottom and needed massive interventions. In some cases, these people needed inpatient treatment. They needed, again, to use the example of Johnny Depp and his problems. And I'm not suggesting that, Harry has talked about substance abuse. I'm not saying that he is at the level of Johnny Depp or anything like that. But Johnny Depp, when he was at his trial in Virginia with Amber Heard, my understanding was that he had 2 so-called sober coaches who accompanied him everywhere he went over the course of that trial. I don't know if those people are with him on an ongoing basis or anything like that. And this is not inside baseball. This is fairly well known, because these guys were in the car with him when he arrived at the courthouse every morning, and everybody said, "Who is that guy? And who is that guy?" Well, apparently they were his so-called sober coaches that kept him clean and sober of whatever vices he was dealing with throughout the length of that trial. And I would not be at all surprised, again, just from my observation and personal opinion, would not be at all surprised that Harry ended up in a situation like that as well, where he needed someone to help him simply exist as a human being and to function in a way that was not continuing his downward spiral and, would prevent him from getting further into some sort of self-destructive type of activity. Again, either continuing to use and abuse substances in the way that he described in his book, or just keeping his head on straight and holding his hand in the way that a good friend would to counsel him and to remind him, hey, you're upset about something. You shouldn't be. Let's talk this through, et cetera, et cetera. Those people exist. They're very good at what they do. And I hope that it's actually a good thing, I think, in the case of somebody like Harry, that, he can get that kind of assistance. But if he doesn't, I mean, anything is possible. And I think the anything has some very, very unpleasant anythings within the collection.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same page. Let's see. And then do you think this will turn the last few of Harry's supporters against him? That was a question that I had.
I don't, but I tell you what I think will.
Okay.
And that is when he becomes irrelevant.
Okay.
When he is no longer able to cast stones and shoot flaming arrows at his brother and his father and the media and the UK and Ravik and all those types of things, when he runs out of grievances that he can make actionable and he can take public, I think he will no longer be of interest, and he will no longer be interesting to a lot of his supporters. I think, again, I'm always hesitant to get inside other people's heads because I think it's dangerous. But at the same time, I think that there are people out there, and they're not exclusive to Meghan and Harry, but they enjoy what I refer to as social anarchy or social arson, and again, don't everybody freak out about my use of that word. I'm talking figuratively.
Literal. That's right.
Yes. But there are people who really enjoy seeing things torn down. And in a lot of cases, I think they mistake the tearing down of current and past institutions for a more progressive world that they aspire to live in. So I think there are a lot of people who are Republican, who are not supporting the monarchy, and they say anything that anybody is doing to poke holes in the monarchy and to be an irritant to the king and to the future king and the future queen and so forth. Anybody that's doing that, we support. But when that person runs out of ammunition and they can no longer poke holes, and it could come because they simply have spilled all the secrets and family insider information that they can, or they become irrelevant, or people get tired of listening to them, or they're stripped of their titles, or they're removed from the line of succession, or whatever it is, once more and more of those dominoes start to fall, I think the people in a lot of cases that are getting pleasure from seeing all these flaming arrows being shot and so forth, those people will say, yeah, I'm no longer interested. This isn't fun anymore. This isn't interesting to watch. And I'm going to go elsewhere. I think that's the point at which Harry will truly become irrelevant and will lose the rest of the supporters that he has. And incidentally, I think Meghan is the same way.
Yeah, same page. I hesitate a little bit on because she's
far more adept than he is at continuing to, make the machinery turn. Thanks, as we've seen with Instagram, she has the ability to keep moving things forward. And but again, at some point, people are going to say, we're tired of seeing pictures of the back of Harry's head and the back of the kids' heads. And
what's the point?
And especially, I mean, here's a good hypothetical. What if they do run out of money? What if As Ever flops? What if they run out of money? They run out of relevance? What if Harry does have to move back to the UK in spite of his protests? What if he does have to move back to the UK and move into some property that is owned by is accessible to members of the British royal family? Basically, with his tongue his tail between his legs. He won't be quite the rabble rouser that he seems to be right now.
I think for most people, but for him, he'll just be more petulant. I just don't know if there's an end to his petulance. So I don't know.
Well, look at his Uncle Andrew, though.
No, I
What
agree, but Harry is his own special kind of annoying, so I just don't know.
true, true. Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that's where he is headed. I really do. If and when they separate kind of thing, I think he'll end up. I'm not saying he should be welcome back. I always get comments, they shouldn't welcome him back. Fine. But I
Well,
think
let me just point something out. I mean, as so many people have said, a lot of what he says is hypocritical or just simply very contradictory.
yeah.
And people are saying that about him and Meghan.
Yes.
And so it's entirely conceivable, I think, that a couple of years from now, he could pop up and say, you know what? I want to go back to the UK. I've changed my mind. Or even, I didn't really mean it when I said I could never see a scenario. I could never see a world when I could take my family back to the UK and live.
The press said that. I didn't say that.
Or they put words in my mouth, or that was misunderstood. Or I only meant, when I said that, I only meant I can't envision that world within the next 6 months.
The press is misogynist, whatever it is. Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. One of the things that's so difficult one of the reasons that Harry and Meghan are so frustrating, I think, in my opinion, is that they don't exist among the rest of us in the way that the rest of us do. By which I mean, again, it's kind of implicit in the nature of someone who is considered to be a social climber, that they are going to meet people, befriend them, take what they can from those people, and basically toss them aside. Most people find that very hard to comprehend because that's just not the way most of us think.
Right.
Because we'd feel rotten about it. But, and I'm sure HG could go into a long song and dance about all of this, but it's absolutely second nature for somebody who doesn't think twice about, well, that person's no longer of any use to me. I see no more utility in that person, and so I'm just going to cast them aside. Very strange concept for most of us.
It is.
But not for all. Not for all.
Obviously.
And
I don't mean to keep, the other point I want to drive home, the other strange concept I cannot wrap my head around is that they just think these opportunities are just endless. That is such a strange way to think. Most of us would be thankful for one opportunity, whatever that is, whatever your dream is, whatever you're trying to make happen, to have a big opportunity to make that happen. They've had 100 million chances at anything.
Absolutely correct.
Whereas the rest of us just wait for one chance. I just want to be on Taskmaster. One chance to do, whatever it is. Just one chance to do it. I'll be forever grateful. So whereas they just are like, we don't have to work hard on this one. We'll do another one. And what?
You're absolutely right. And I think, as I've said several times to you, Jen, a lot of these things, you don't have to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a person with training, or, you don't have to even be smart. You just have to have a sixth sense about whether you like someone or not. And there's so many components that can go into that. But I think especially in the case of Meghan, she has a lot of things working in her favor. Again, as we've said, her tenacity and things along those lines, and her ability to make contact with people. But at the same time, there's something about her that just rubs people the wrong way.
I think so.
She does not seem genuine. She does not seem sincere. By contrast, Harry often does seem very genuine. I don't think he has the capacity to be a fake, for lack of a better word. The problem is that his true colors are not very appealing to people.
True. Yeah. There's no depth. Yeah. He's just
Right,
angry.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really remarkable. And again, it all contributes to that slow motion soap opera, day by day by day, year by year by year, unraveling.
Yeah, I think so. And then let's see, I think the final thought I had written down is it kind of ties into something you were saying earlier, but about how we all go through life experiences, whether you went to college or not. You went through that time in your life
Oh yeah,
where you were coming out of high school and you thought you were a big shot, whatever, like you knew it all. And then you get into the real world or college or whatever path you take. And then life is like, you don't matter. So,
absolutely.
what were your thoughts on this?
Well, that came up because I was in touch with a friend of mine who has a son who's an outstanding soccer player and football player. Sorry. And he's a senior in high school. He's about to graduate and go off to university. And I was in touch with his mom and I said, he's going to be in for he's a great kid. He'll do just fine. But I said, he's going to be in for a very rude experience because he's going to get to college and he's going to be a freshman on a good soccer team where the people calling the shots on the team are juniors and seniors. And he, I think, as invariably happens, because I remember it when I was in college and joining a sports team and so forth, he has never had that experience where he's going to go from king of the hill all of a sudden down to, we do not care about your worldview on how the team should be run, what kind of pizza we should order when we go to an away game against another school. Any of these things. You'll be lucky if we actually ask you for your opinion. You'll be really lucky if we actually listen to your opinion. So don't bother offering us your 18-year-old expertise on how you think things ought to be. When you get into the real world after you graduate from college, the same process unfolds all over again. Absolutely. When you're 22 years old, you think you're hot stuff because you've got this college degree and you're just going to go out and turn the world on its ear. Well, guess what? It doesn't work that way. No. And all you got to do is flip on TikTok and see the complaints and the grievances that people are piling up about, oh my gosh, I don't like my boss. Why don't you like your boss? Well, he's always telling me what to do. There's a reason they send money every 2 weeks. It's because they don't care about your opinion, and you're supposed to be doing things that make your boss's life easier. The point of all this is that I don't think Harry has ever had that experience, with the possible exception of when he went into the military and probably went through boot camp, where I'm sure he was given an earful about how insignificant he was, even though he was a prince. But for whatever reason, he didn't learn, I don't think, a lesson about that, and his arrogance and his title and his affiliation with the royal family and being the son of the king and the son of Princess Diana, a beloved figure and so forth. He has never figured out that none of that stuff really matters to anybody else. So he has gone along his merry way down the path, skipping along and whistling and thinking, oh boy, everybody's just dying to know what's on my mind and how I think things ought to be. I'm sorry. That is not the way the world is reacting to him. And he's the last person to know it. Yeah. Again, I wish somebody had told me that this case was likely to turn out the way it did. One of the other things that this Dr. Raj Persoe pointed out is that, and this really resonated with me, lawyers are invariably pessimistic. I'm sure his lawyers were happy to take him on as an appellate client to go up to the 3-judge panel to further try and press his case for why Ravik had done him wrong. But I'm fairly confident that they would have said to him, listen, the reason we're having this conversation at all about the appellate court is that you just got a solid defeat handed to you at the court of original jurisdiction. So you're rolling the dice on going to the appeals court.
Yeah.
Or the court of appeal, as it's called. Sorry. And for him to then turn around and say, "Oh, I didn't have any idea that this could be the result. I'm shell shocked by this." You are a slow learner, sir. I'm sorry.
Imagine imagine one of your clients going out and saying that after you've worked with them.
Well, it'd be a little insulting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's rude, it's insulting, and it makes you sound like you're incompetent.
Well, right. And I mean, and look, being an attorney is just like, playing a professional sport. Sometimes everything looks, the odds makers say, "Oh, this is going to be a slam dunk." And then all of a sudden you're walking off the court or the field or the pitch, saying, "I don't know what happened. What happened? Mm-hmm. Who saw that coming?" Yeah. And I mean, that can always be the case. But in this case, I'm confident that his lawyers probably told him, "Hey, this is going to be an uphill climb, and you're wearing a heavy backpack, and it's going to be expensive. It's going to be potentially embarrassing. It's going to be, fodder for all of your detractors and all that." I'm confident they had all those conversations.
You would think so.
And yet, here he is. I had no idea. I didn't see that coming. I wish somebody had clued me in.
Again, to go full circle, it's almost like nothing's ever his fault, right? Well, imagine going through life like that, right? Where you can make no mistakes and nothing's ever your fault. You can blame anybody in proximity. "John, I've made dumb decisions today. It's all your fault." I bought too much crap at Target earlier. You will be you're going to hear you're going to hear from my attorney, Binchu, about that. Why is it your fault? I have no idea. But I'm just saying, like nothing's ever Harry's fault.
Yeah. No, it's true. And again, these are lessons that people learn in primary school, in high school, in university, in the military. I mean, I can't imagine how he got out of the military without internalizing some of this. Your commanding officer does not care what your views are on the orders that you just received.
Mm-hmm. If you think about it, it's contradictory to everything he wrote in Spare, because he made it seem like, "Oh, the family was out to get me." No, it just shows the opposite. They overprotected him, perhaps. I'm not blaming the family for him being a prick, but I'm just saying, like, it just flies in the face of everything he's claimed, in my opinion.
Well, again, there's so many contradictions and so many instances of hypocrisy that it is, again, it's hard for the rest of us collectively to get our heads around.
Yeah, you're right.
It really is. And I think that's, again, part of why people find him so frustrating and infuriating, especially given all the opportunities that he has had and he has just let fly out the window for whatever reason.
I don't know. I just get frustrated.
I can't take it.
And like tunnel vision. What'd you say?
I said, I'm panting. I can't, I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted because I just listened to that damn podcast right before we hit record. So between that and then this, I'm just like, oh my God.
Listen, I'm in touch with several YouTubers, as you know. I have talked to several Mexican YouTube creators who have said, I couldn't take this stuff anymore. I had to go on vacation.
So in real time, you are being very kind to me and recording with me, because when this hits, I'm out. I'm not here. So that's how I'm just like, I've had enough. I need a break. So
yes, it's true. It is. I mean, it is.
I just need to check out for a couple of days, because you just get wrapped up in this stuff and they're infuriating. Yeah.
Yes, you have to turn it off at some point and take a break and clear your head. I mean, you always have to do. That's why they give you vacation from work every year, because they want you. I mean, in some cases, they force you to take your vacation because they don't want you, again, going down the rabbit hole over and over and over. You've got to be able to come out of the rabbit hole and go, oh, I forgot what sunlight looked like. And I've said this. I've said this
before. Back a little darker than I'm leaving. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be hard for you, believe me, because as you often say, anybody who has blonde hair and pale skin, you step out, walking from the house to the car, you might get a sunburn.
That's right.
But it's. I mean, I've made this point before on some videos. If people in the audience are watching Megxit YouTube videos morning, noon, and night, that is not a healthy thing to do. No. And I see that in the comments sometimes when I scroll through the comments and I see some of the same people making the same comments over and over and over again, basically expressing their anger and frustration and everything else. I just think, I hope that person manages to turn off their phone or their TV or their PC or whatever it is that they're using to watch. It is not healthy to immerse yourself in the frustrating world of Meghan and Harry on a nonstop basis. It's just not. I would not recommend that for anybody.
Agree, but thank you guys for watching. Keep watching.
Right.
No,
right. I can't wait for the analytics to pop up on that.
That's right. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. No, you make a good point. And what I hope to take from this is to take a deep breath, come back, and continue to call out the nonsense, but drop some of the frustration. There's no reason to be like, we'll just keep calling out the nonsense and watch it all play out. I'm totally with you. And lucky for everybody, ready for a plug, I have another channel.
Oh yeah.
So if you get sick of the Harry and Meghan stuff, you can see Goose Adventure, where I'm talking weight loss. I'm in the middle, or I've just completed a weight loss journey, a pretty big one. But now I'm working on a fitness journey. And so I'm talking about all of that on Goose Adventure. So check that out.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be great, Jen, by the way. I really think that I have really high hopes and expectations for the success of that channel. I think I think it will be very interesting. I think it is very important for the people who are interested in that content. I know what you went through is absolutely remarkable and commendable. And you've changed your life. You've extended your life. You've gained years on your relationship with the Gosling. And I can't say enough times how impressive what you've done, I think, really is, and how inspirational it is for other people.
Wow, that means so much to me. I really appreciate that.
Well, it's true.
Thank you. That means the world. And I've read all of your comments. Thank you. I'm talking to the collective flockers now. Thank you guys for leaving such wonderful comments. It means so much to me. I sincerely appreciate it. But no, I think again, to tie it back to Harry and Meghan, because I'm obsessed, is the difference is I realized that I had a problem and that I needed to take steps to fix it. I have nobody to blame. I've been through some crap behind the scenes and you know what I mean? Like, it happens, but there's no one or nothing to blame but myself. And when I realized that and I took steps and I'm continue to take steps to remedy it, that's the only way to handle it like an adult. And I think that's one of the reasons I get frustrated with the two of them is who among us doesn't have personal, whatever you want, demons, whatever things we struggle with, whether it's addictions or just challenges or whatever it is. It's up to us to take responsibility. I make mistakes constantly. I have to say, oh man, I really screwed that up. I got to fix this. Whatever it is, you got to do it. I can't blame my parents or my friends, or I can't drop friends because of it. I just got to work on myself. So
yes, owning your flaws, owning your mistakes is so important. It is so important. And again, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience and so on, but to not be able to own who you are in spite of whatever obstacles have been thrown in your way, and we all have obstacles.
That's right. That
we've had to overcome. I think you're spot on.
Thank you. I think
spot on. You've won the coveted Spot On award.
Yay! I think you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes if you don't take a head-on approach like that. You have to look.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, coming full circle, the Harry and Meghan show. a lot of mistakes being repeated over and over and over, and we can see the frustration, and we can see the anger, and we can see the futility of it all. Again, arguing with the post office.
You're right.
Knock yourself out, but sooner or later, you're going to have to face reality. They lost your birthday card, and it cannot be found.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. So you can either fight the whole mail system or just, all right, well, that stinks. What am I going to do?
Right, exactly.
Well, John, as always, thank you so much for being here. I sincerely appreciate it. They're going to ask me, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you, any plans on the channel, anything to report back or not yet?
Yes, I do have some plans, and I have some really good content that I've actually already recorded. So
exciting.
I will alert you, Jen. You can alert your audience, and hopefully we'll get to 1,000 subscribers and get monetized right out of the gate, and then be able to do bigger and better things from there. So yes, it should not be very long.
Good.
So I'll let you know.
Good. We all are very excited about that. Definitely do. And we'll be there to support you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. And of course, I'm going to be pestering you to come back as soon as they do something else crazy. So thank you again.
You're welcome. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on. It's always fun.
It is. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, Jen.